This is the Mecalac 136 MR. So it's based on the 10-ton Mecalac, the 10 MCR. It's 13 ton all up with the rail gear on it. Hence the 136. 6 stands for rail in Mecalac language. So it's tri-gauge, and they're adjustable here with the hubs. So this is in narrow. For broad gauge, we flip this hub around and then the wheel comes onto the outside. And then for standard, we have a different adapter, which is this silver bit. The rail wheel's always used. The bolts are just this ring of bolts for the adapter, and then these series of bolts for the wheel. The instructions for how to change the gauges are in the operator's manual, but also they're on a sticker here in the cab, which has our lifting charts for each gauge and not on rail. So there are your 4 lifting charts in the cab, and this shows our assembly, where the parts need to go for changing them. So not a complicated job to change them, about an hour to change them with a rattle gun and then torque wrench for the bolts. They're isolated, so you got the isolation in here. But then if you want it unisolated, so depending on what network you're on, and maybe you want one side isolated, one side not, for example. So to unisolate it, you just add this earth strap and that joins the two together. So very easy to switch between isolated and unisolated. Depends on what you need. They have this is a hitch on each end for recovery. So it has the tow hit, the drawbar in there, and that's for towing the machine if you need to recover it for some reason. They're not a rated towing point, however, we can option that from Harry built a rated tow hitch here, and also a trailer brakes coupling point here. So that's an option that can get added if it's needed. Underneath here we have the derailment bars. So this suits the AS7502, so it catches it if it derails. This is the oscillating end. So it's got fairly large, as you can see, oscillation locks, and that's controlled in the cab, and you can see the pivot point here. So no problems with the twist test. Underneath here, you can see here, we've got the directional lighting. So it's electricity through the swivel joint. And then when you go forwards, of course, the red will be illuminated at the back and white at the front, and then as you change direction, that will switch. So that's all automatic. And then we've got sensors to know exactly where our lorries are. So part of the AS7502 and a lot of the standards are, we need to indicate to the operator in what position they are, and also it has an audible alarm if it's not either all the way up or all the way down. So that's one of the requirements, and we can tell using that sensor on each end exactly where they're located. This is the fixed end. You'll notice on each end we have this tap. That's part of the freewheeling setup. So this has, for recovery, you can freewheel by opening those valves, and then having a look in the back here, you can see here we just have to open this valve like that. It also has the electric backup pump. So that's an emergency. If there's something wrong, power plant engine or something, we can still maneuver the boom just enough to get off the, you can't work with that obviously. That's just to provide some oil to be able to move the boom and move off the track. So we've also got an additional high flow circuit fitted. So there's 2 high flow circuits. One of them is used to feed the tilt rotator, and then the other high flow circuit is here for an attachment up to 140 litres per minute. We then have the second low flow circuit, and then we have the case drain line here. Of course, we also have on the hitch 2 circuits. So in theory, you've got 4 circuits and a case drain, so up to 9 hoses. The tilt rotator is detachable, so if you're doing heavy lifting, you can drop the weight of the tilt rotator off, and that has EC oil in it. These are the roadliner style tracks. So it's a steel chain with the bolt-on grouser, which has the rubber molded all the way around. That can get changed out if you require to just steel tracks. But most people are pretty happy with this. It protects the rail. So in the cab here, we have standard excavator mode, rail mode, and then skid mode. You can't run the skid steer mode. You can't run the skid steer mode when you're up on rail, of course, but when you're just like any normal 10 MCR, you can run a skid bucket. Fantastic for big volume of items. And the controls for skid mode are just like you're in a skid steer. So it's all pilot control. It's not electric over hydraulic. So you've got plenty of feeling. But we change these controls to do the tracks and the turning, and then this is boom up and down and in and out. But when you're on rail, you'll either be in travel mode or in digging mode. So when you're in rail, so the wheels are obviously all the way down now and the machine's up as if it's on rail, and the picture here indicates that. That's why we don't have any alarm going off. We must use a manual pin to lock these two levers together, but the rail switching happens here. This is the Engcon hitch panel. So lowest part does the lower hitch, upper part does the upper hitch. We have a dead man switch on the lorry, so you can't maneuver it. It doesn't do anything. With your left hand, you must pull this lock back, hold this down, and then with your right hand, you can then maneuver this lever up and down to adjust the height. So for example, I'm bringing it down, and you can see now and you can hear that it's alarming at us to say, hey, that's not in the correct position. And I can bring it all the way. And you can see here that it's changed. So we're no longer in rail mode. Like this. And then to move to the other lorry, all you do is hold down this button on the top of the blade lever and then use that one. So you can see the lorries are not all the way up. That's why it's still alarming and flashing at us. It needs to go all the way up. And then you'll see on the picture here, it shows them all the way up and the alarm's not alarming at us. Now we're back to normal travel mode. So we still have the faster track speed, 9 or 10 kilometers per hour on the tracks. It's hydrostatic, 4-wheel hydrostatic with inbuilt brakes. We've got the brake automatically comes on for the rail, but we've also got the manual park brake button here. So this is with the lorries lifted up. Here we've got a fuel transfer pump, so easy refueling. Diesel fuel point. We've got auto greaser there. We got forward and rear facing horns as required in AS7502. So one faces forward there and one faces back there, one faces forward here. There's an offset locking bar, so that just swings around. So when used, if you install a height and slew system, if it can't do the offset, then you use that bar and it locks it out. Okay, I hope that helps. Any questions, just let me know.